Hello and welcome. We are broadcasting live from GlobalNutriPreneurs, the premier global gateway and unified operating system transforming the future of global agri-food economy. Today, the global food system stands at a critical crossroads. While the demand for functional health, wellness, and nutritional security is expanding exponentially, early-stage innovators face massive roadblocks, fragmented supply chains, opaque cross-border regulations, and a staggering volume of unvetted noise that isolates brilliant founders from institutional capital. The cost of this friction isn't just measured in lost revenue. It is measured in the unacceptably high rate of global food waste and systematic nutritional insecurity. Promoted by the Global Council for Agri-Food Trade and Innovation and the Global Council for the Promotion of International Trade, GlobalNutriPreneurs was engineered to dismantle these barriers. We are moving decisively past passive business directories. Powered by a robust digital operating system featuring AI-driven founder mentor matching, automated regulatory compliance hubs, and an integrated virtual deal room, we are systematically transforming high-potential ventures into scalable investment-grade nutri-business. Our ecosystem operates across 6 integrated strategic pillars, uniting a dedicated global R&D network, shared physical infrastructure via decentralized common facility centers, and an ESG-compliant trade and investment marketplace. Right now, our team is executing a massive global pipeline evaluation, reviewing over 10,000 agriculture, food, and nutrition business across more than 150 countries. Our mission is clear: to uncover the elite innovators shaping the next era of wellness. Joining us is a leader whose work sits at the very frontier of this transformation. Please welcome to the global stage our guest for today, Kallol Saha. Is an experienced rural and social development practitioner with a strong background in product management, development research, institutional development, and agribusiness. An alumnus of the Institute of Rural Management, Anand, where he earned his postgraduate diploma in rural management. He also holds an MSc in applied geology from Jadavpur University. Throughout his career, he has collaborated with key organizations such as the Sir Ratan Tata Trust, BASIX, the National Dairy Development Board, and various government agencies focusing on public policy, food security, and sustainable livelihoods. Operating as an independent consultant based in Ranchi, India, he works extensively across Eastern India to facilitate multi-stakeholder initiatives and drive inclusive, market-driven community development. Thank you for joining us today to help shape the future of global nutripreneurs. I now kindly request you to proceed with your presentation. Over to you.
So thank you for having me here. And without taking much time, because you have already introduced me in a great manner, so I'll go to this presentation first, and then we see, take up the questions probably. So see, to give a brief of my work and my focus. So I essentially work with economically underprivileged sections to see that we can create a balanced and better world for all of us and for a better future. With that broad statement, so given the today's topic, so I think there are a few things that needs more importance strategically at every scale. I mean, scale when we talk about the things on ground, when we talk about the policy, and then how do we practice those policies? And in all this, because we are talking about women, so probably I am personally working with a conviction of, if we are saying nation first, humanity first, then it is also women first. That's what I believe, and I try to preach and practice. Coming to this specific presentation, so we are trying to see how the work that I think I am doing is influencing or impacting in this dimension, and what more can happen. So we are talking about smallholders, water security, local institutions, and nutrition-focused value chains. So I think these are key things that we are talking about today. We are talking about smallholder transition. When we're talking about smallholders, so it is essentially about land and water. And then if we are talking about what to do and how to do on land and water, then there are two perspectives we should align somewhere. So there is a broader public or government policy along with the private sector or donor alignment efforts. Making it more contextual because context is what matters. So Eastern India and institutions, how are we doing? We'll talk about something about that and what are the potential there. And then taking it to the nutrition focused value chains, which is, we understand that nutrition, the more we learn about nutrition, I believe then we are focused, but that's not widely discussed all the time. And many a times for underserved communities that remains, that still remains a challenge. So what is the status today and what might be in the 3 to 5 years horizon? Specifically because 3 to 5 year, I think we are talking about that because we have certain commitment for sustainable development goals and we know where we are, but we need to see what we can do more in this brief window of time. So then that necessary comes to scaling blueprints and talking about ecosystem synergy so that finally the inclusive goal of development can be achieved. So my core proposition would be that technology, finance, and policy create a durable impact only when they are connected to the local ecology, trusted institutions, and evidence from real users. So given that there are some specific questions or prompts saying, so how do we match, particularly, match my academic background to my practice and how is it different from the others? Because I personally believe all the journey that we all have a different experience and that's what makes it interesting. So when you talk about my engagement and given my background, so yes, applied geology was something that I pursued first. And with that applied geology knowledge only, I came to join a different sector, I would say. So I joined one of the largest and most respected non-profit in the country, Pradhan, directly from my campus interview. The idea was, my interest was to see if I can do something with the knowledge that I have on ground, if there is something possible. And because I got a ready opportunity from the campus, so I didn't really think of second opportunities, though I have other options, academic options in hand, but I always wanted to be on the spot. So probably that helped me to choose my first job, first career options. And but when I went to a village and trying to look at things from rocks, aquifers, slopes, drainage. I mean, those are the probable things, but there are other things. There are minerals. There are water infrastructures. There were other things, but those are the things I used to look at the village. So, and then I could see that it's good that I have been there and I am trying to communicate in my own language, but that language is highly categorized and very few people understand that. And in the context where we are, probably that's neither sufficient nor try to understand or try to get a whole picture, this whole picture. And when we are talking about whole picture, so that picture has to be a well-managed resource. Any resource, if we have water, we have land, or we have plantations, a management perspective is very important, because by the end of the day, I need to know what I have done and what I have gained. And that one single subject cannot really appreciate that, I believe. It's essential that we become expert of one subject, but then a management perspective becomes important, because it can show you the few things in details. So after a five years term with the organization, I continued to prepare myself and then got into rural management. So probably I had questions, more questions. Probably then the approach was, first I have lot of answers, how to do a water structure, how to do a land leveling survey, or how to water the plants, probably. But then after 5 years, I have many unsolved questions, which prompted me to get into rural management. And we can see here together what has happened. So still, when I am going to the field or I am working with a policy client, I try to look at both the things. If this is my technical expertise, and if this is what I want to do, how to do that? So I think this is important for any development practitioner. Results, something that we have done on field in Jharkhand, across India, or beyond India. We have done some work on Kenya at the Masai Mara, creating large-scale dams for Masai communities. So some figures are there. Now coming to this subsistence farming to sustainable agribusiness, because that is what is important. Any of us, when we start our journey, we are defined by some specific projects, programs, or a technology, or a piece of it. That's very defined, right? And that's my duty, that's our duty. What we are doing, we should be doing that to the best possible, to take it to the best possible standards. But finally, this, for all of us, in any way we categorize the economy, and we belong to a certain part of the economy. But for all of us, the first thing comes, I believe, secure yourself, secure your household, secure your neighborhood, and then start thinking about larger security issues. When I am talking about security, I am talking about food, water, and economic security in particular, right? So when we are talking about subsistence, and now who are the people we are working for? Essentially, once I have secured myself or my family or my neighborhood, ultimately we are working to secure the humanity, secure this planet. So there has to be a sense of justice. How do we do that? So everything I do or say, given my capabilities, that has to secure someone. Only then we are secure, right? To secure the household, when we're talking about those families, economically underserved families, and who are the major part of that, we all know, the women essentially being the most vulnerable, I believe, given we can prove it through the data, that economy has rarely worked for women. Let me make this very categorically clear, right? And if I am working for economic development for an underserved community, for underserved people, I start with women, because that's where I think more work needs to be done. So what do we do? And when we are talking about women, what can we do? There are businesses, farm and non-farm, broadly we define it. Given my capabilities, we do certain things for non-farm, and that we can see, but because we are talking about food and nutrition value chain, women women do a lot of work on field. And this is increasing. To my understanding, at least if I am looking at Eastern India or many other economically underprivileged section of the society, this is increasing because male for many a times are migrating to the higher paid jobs or for better livelihood opportunities. They are leaving their agri landscape and probably going to some kind of skill job, more skill job or service sector. So who remains behind? Again, it's the woman. So when we are talking about improving food, water, and the nutrition security, if we're talking about, we need to work with the household and essentially women as the representative of the household. So next step is to build a dependable production base. Again, for whom male and female are physiologically and psychologically distinct. I suppose there are many theories on that and evidences as well. So what would work for male might not work for female. So we build a dependable production base, which is essentially works for our women. It would be different, and it has been. We have seen through my SRI, System of Rice Intensification Initiative, where a lot of effort has gone to create equipments which are women friendly, to create farms practices which reduces drudgery. Now then aggregate them intelligently. So how do we aggregate them? Currently, we are aggregating through women's self-help groups, which is one major initiative which has been scaled over time. I think it's a brilliant story across the geographies where women's self-help groups has been formed. They have been they have been again built into higher structures like village organizations and now farmer producer organizations led by women. At least in case of Jharkhand, from where I belong and across, we have worked with the Women Dairy Federation at Africa. I see these institutions have performed brilliantly well. Take it the loan repayment, take the production, take the basic practice beliefs. So this is our future. At least in 5 years, if we need to work on nutrition security, women are more sensitive because they are the victim and they have now the opportunity to work upon them. And as we say, if we teach a woman in a family, it would naturally go to the whole family. So those are the principles. Those should be the principles of aggregating it intelligently. Work backwards from the customer is something important. Now we need to know who is the customer. Again, if we are looking at the customer, who talks about nutrition in our home? Again, it would be starting from our mothers. So let us understand what is the profile of our mothers, self-profile of our mothers. And then have a discussion with them with the similar kind of, taking those things into the national consideration. These are the recommendations, these are the need and recommendation of mothers from her own point of view as well as for her family point of view. And that would shape a demand probably. And so if we can quantify that demand, let us now go back to our mothers in the villages and say, can we do this? This is where we need to create a delivery system. Now this delivery system, every delivery system would not lead to essentially, every crop we grow would not be part of a global value chain. That doesn't happen. We understand hardly 10% of it might be going to the international trade. There would be 20-30% might be going to the national trade, but local trade is what gives it the volume, and there is requirement in improvement in local trade. So we need to create a local service economy. I continue to keep on stressing when people say farmer producer organizations or cooperatives has exported so much things and so I think that's absolutely brilliant. If you are doing something covering or crossing 90 kind of checkpoints, quality standards, and setting something to the foreign to gain a higher economic growth, that is absolutely fabulous. But again, first, all these institutions first should work to ensure that the local nutritional security is achieved. If a farmer producer organization have 1,000 members or a cooperative have 2,000 members, first we need to look at, can we secure our producers? Probably. And then can we secure our customers in the district level? Because that's where probably the first business happen and easy to happen. So these kind of decentralized approaches are critical. Essentially, if there is there is a global marketplace and now everything is being geotagged. So if you have the best product, there would be a best buyer for that. And that should absolutely happen because that's what keeps us improving. But then when we are talking about standards and attaining the sustainable development points by 2030, probably this decentralized approach has to work because it is easy, it is faster, it is more evidence-based, and people would trust. Whatever I say, if I am selling my goods to US market or Canada or Germany, everybody would be marveled. But essentially, how many of them would be included into that? We need to look at it. But essentially, our motivation has to be on that level. Now, so how can we do this? Because this has to be, if when we are talking about anything global or anything local, increasingly the demand would be indexed. I want to do something. So these were the baseline indicator, what I want to go. There are the global indicators of sustainable development and how do I reach there. So if we are doing that, then everything again starts with land and water. What is the status of our land and water? There are so many scientific studies, I'm sure, and there are many organizations who have put a lot of effort to make that scientific information available to the community on ground. But that's again the most dark area or major gap, I believe. I was working with the National Remote Sensing Center, which maps across the country. I mean, it's under ISRO, and our job was to map the water bodies across the country. Now that knowledge is there. It was for Jharkhand, it completed in 2008. For the whole country, it completed in around 2012-13. And by 14, every state has got that maps. These are where resources, water resources of every village has been mapped with the data regularly being updated. The question is, what do I do with that map? Being part of the state planning cell for water and sanitation, I have used because I had that knowledge. So I did something. But this map points out where you need to put a pond and where you need to put a check dam so that water can be used properly by the people there. Now you can see there are many startups that are coming up with this kind of technologies where we are talking about precision farming. Precision farming is what? Again, doing precisely what that land and water is capable of and give it a geotag. This is happening here. So you can know who is the producer, how he produced the things, and what is the expected nutritional value. But even after, I believe there are commendable startups who are into this. But if you really go to the village and ask someone, do you have any practical experience? Go to Jharkhand, go some part of Northeast, or go other places where it is still mostly there is less of chemical fertilizer and it's more biotic in origin. Those places have not ever seen that kind of an initiative. So there lives that gap. So if that is the gap we need to address, we have landscape we need panchayat and village level work, especially panchayat. This has to be done through panchayat, and we are doing a lot of work with the panchayat to realize this. So map the landscape, take it to the villagers. Map the water balance village-wise, say this is the what you have, this is what you use. Now these are the balance things that you can do. That is the second. Then build the infrastructure. Now, when we build the infrastructure, essentially, we are very fast in creating infrastructures because that helps us spending money. That helps us to also show impact, show the numbers. But then who takes care of it? If we don't have institutions to take care of it, it cannot be done from Delhi, Ranchi, or even in a district. It has to be the village institution who takes care of it. And that's where we are increasingly talking about the role of women-led institutions, because they remain in the villages. It is their choice and their challenge that they are working on. And when we connect all these landscape, water balance, infrastructure, and institution, livelihood happens. So it gives you water security, it gives you economic security, it gives you security. Land, water, and economic security translates into nutritional security. That was my point from this one. One question was there, how do we align philanthropy, public policy, and community priorities? Again, public policy is a responsibility that public has given their representative to create a balanced and better world. Philanthropy, I see it as an individual intention to do whatever best I can do. And community priorities is essentially, it's a collective sense of what needs to be done for the betterment of us. So these three normally should align naturally, because if government is also trying to do good, I am also trying to do good, and community wants its own good, so that they should naturally align. But many a time, confrontation and conflict happens because of because of some sort of mismanagement or misunderstanding. And that can be addressed by continuous dialogue. And that's where I believe, at global scale, this forum like yours can work. At local level, there also needs to be representative forums, because shared result will evolve only when we share our perspectives. Coming to specific cases of Eastern India, I see there is good asset base. And specifically, I am talking about this because I would include Eastern and Northeastern India, because I do a certain reasonably, I did few work there as well in certain states. So I see good assets when we are talking about nutrition. There is good amount of cultivable land along with native forest. This is the advantage. But then rest are fragmented. Public system is fragmented. Local capability, if you look at the way a farmer in Rajasthan or Punjab or Haryana is farming, and the way one from Jharkhand or one from maybe Manipur or Mizoram is farming, you can see the practices in terms of equipment, in terms of knowledge, in terms of materials used, there would be at least 10-20 years gap. So if we need to really improve nutrition security, Eastern and Northeastern India, I look at that there is a huge chance because we are going back towards biotic origins. And these are the areas where there is still hope. And that we can cover, the rest of the things can be covered during this 3 to 5 years period. And then there would be challenges, institutions without an economic function. Again, I'm very proud that whenever we talk about these institutions, like village self-help groups or farmer producer organizations, government has done a lot, put a lot of effort creating a huge number of institutions. Even Panchayati Raj institutions are there. Point is key, we need to understand no institutions exist without an economic function. None of us would sit for something where there is where hopefully an economic outcome is not there. Sometimes it might be essentially social, but even then, when we are talking about nutrition and value chain and a global supply chain, we need defined institutions with defined and well-tracked economic function. We have 10,000 FPOs, but probably 1,000 is yet to cross 1 crore turnover mark. We have numbers of self-help groups, but yet there would be very low number of self-help groups who have ever accessed a bank loan. These things needs to be improved and these things can be worked upon. We need a complete combined management perspective as offering us these general WH questions. What has to be done, who is going to do that, and how it is going to be done. And participation is without control. Again, these are the things that needs to be taken care of, and I believe these things can be taken care of if we have a integrated view, and that can be presented. I am doing it for some states out of my own interest, but a forum like yours can create an integrated picture of the country, addressing these issues in a rapid manner if we are to improve the Sustainable Development Index for us and for the world at one hand, and on the other hand, securing nutrition for our nation as well as global security. These are few things that we need to work on. Finally, what a global agri-food network should make possible. First, discover credible founders and under-networked innovations. Innovation is happening with a startup being given so much policy backup, but still, as I have said, most of these innovations have not reached to the core. I mean, to the women and the farmers whom we are talking about. Validate. There has to be a validation process. Process has been established, but technical performance on ground with affordability, usability, and willingness to pay, this has to be clearly defined. Then build, discover and validate, and then build the business model. It is very much essential. We should not leave anything to chances. We have a product. What is the business model? What is the price? How it would be distributed? What services provides, and how it is going to work for our nutrition seekers, I would say. And then if there is a business model, there would be the question of finance, so investment readiness. So we need ready templates for each to answer each of these. and then scale. So a global agri-food network, because it has the global perspective along with local performance. So we should have this template with us, which can be readily deployed, contextualized and deployed for any case. Overall, I look at this that for the next 3-5 years, these are the things that is going to happen, I suppose. There are a lot of things that is, even if it is not happening, it needs to happen, otherwise we cannot proceed. Water efficient production, decentralized processing, traceability plus quality, and then circular rural economies. I would say local economies, because local economy has to be circular before we create a global supply chain. We have seen AI, so AI assisted local advice. We are doing it in one of the startup I am working with. And then measuring all these nutrition as an outcome. This is where something is important. I suppose nutrition is covered under SDG 2, food security, probably, mostly it is covered under food security. But now we should talk more and more about nutritional security, because food security is assured by a rationing system, which doesn't ultimately look at, even if we have supplied the food, is nutrition happening? So we increasingly need to focus on nutrition as an outcome, which would come from two things. One is, if we are objectively measuring the food security part is essential, but also family health and family health survey. So that is in under health SDGs. But we should have some kind of, these things needs to be, any food production should now take into account and should be clearly speaking about the nutrition outcomes we are talking about. Scaling this is the model of scaling. Identify a problem, field proof, validate the model that I have system, create a delivery system, trusted partners, evidence at a scale. This is simple. This format is simple. Can we do it in 6 months? Can we do it in 1 year? Only then it would be meaningful. Talking about what we can do in this context. See, our work is basically, it's more kind of action research. I personally try to find out if I see something new happening, so I try to see how it can address the people I am working with. On the other hand, if I see there is a issue, then I make a proposition. These are the things that can happen if somebody is having this. Please come and collaborate. We would create a business model to do that. So our role here, GlobalNutriPreneurs, I think you are very much clear about what you are doing. For us, field validation and user evidence, FPO, SHG and local institution linkage, value chain and scale readiness analysis, pilot design, documentation and mentoring. This is the thing where we take interest, and we take interest in create sustainable businesses, keeping a legitimate share of it to us. How do we prevent technology-led scale from excluding smallholders? That is something we might discuss. So for me, I do it. If there is a new technology, I try to analyze its acceptance by first see if it is applicable for, because it is still 60, 70, 80% of our farmers and overall food nutrition seekers are smallholder, maybe more than that. So if it is going to work for that, if it is not, there is a price barrier. How can we work with it if it is really worth doing that? So the things are that I like to look it from this framework. Do we have a affordability issue? Do we have trusted channels? What is the low risk adaptation model can be? And finally, if really women can control this. Finally, to summarize, so responsible scale needs essentially finance, technology, policy, and community. we can see anything that has a skill has all these four played their role. And if there is a little disturbance in one or another, this is going to affect our skill. Thank you.
Thank you, Kallol, for sharing your valuable insights with the Global Entrepreneurs community. That was an engaging and thought-provoking presentation. You've answered the questions that we had in mind very beautifully. An incredible masterclass of a conversation. Thank you for sharing your blueprints with us today. Your profound insights reinforce exactly why entrepreneurs exist, to bridge the official gap between commercial profitability and sustainable social impact. To everyone tuning in across our global network, whether you're an innovator, an investor, or a policymaker, the path to plugging into this unified agri-food operating system is clear. For agri-food entrepreneurs and founders, stop struggling in isolation. Fast-track your venture through our customized scaling pathways, leverage our AI-driven mentor matching, and utilize our automated regulatory compliance hubs to make your business cross-border ready. For accredited investors, eliminate the noise of unvetted pipelines, access our pre-evaluated investment-grade nutri businesses directly through our integrated virtual deal rooms, and secure your stake in this next era of health and wellness. For industrial and academic partners, collaborate with us. Let's unlock deep tech innovation through our global agri-food, nutrition research, and development forum, and actively build a more equitable ecosystem by championing leadership at a Women in Food, Agriculture, and Nutrition Forum. Together, we can maximize our global networks and deploy decentralized common facility centers to actively drive the 40% reduction in global post-harvest food losses. The future of global agri-food economy is no longer about survival. It is about sustainable nutrition, scientific excellence, and friction-free global trade. Visit globalnutripreneurs.com to secure your application, verify your venture, and claim your place in the future of food innovation. Thank you for joining us on Global Entrepreneurs. Until next time, keep innovating, keep scaling, and build with impact. Thank you. Have a good day.